This Mamar, good morning first of all, and welcome to the Kabbalah and Coffee. We're going to begin today a Mamar. Probably over the next 2 weeks we will learn this discourse on Pesach. This discourse the Rabbi said on his 80th birthday exactly 30 years ago, on the 11th of Nisan, which is 4 days before Pesach. Let's start. Kimei, Tseischa, the verse in Micha says, like the days I took you out of the land of Egypt, I will show you great wonders when the final redemption happens. In other words, Hashem is saying that the final redemption will be similar to the days in which I took you out of Egypt. It is known the question that the Zohar asks on this verse. Brought in many of the discourses of our Rebbes. Why does it say in this verse, Kimei, like the days, plural? God took us out in 1 day. It wasn't days, it was 1 day. The day that the exodus from Egypt happened in 1 day, the 15th day of the month of Nisan. So what is Kimei, plural? The same thing. Similarly, and when we remember the Exodus every single day, we read the verse, we read the verse in the Torah, it says, remember this day that you went out of Egypt. It doesn't say remember these days. And, so why over here, and also it says, is another verse that says that you should remember, you should remember the day you left Egypt. Always it says day, not days. Why in this verse, in Micha, does it say Kimei, plural, the days that you went out of Egypt? In addition, we also have to understand the general meaning of this verse. The days, like the days you went out of Egypt, I will show you wonders. The Pirush HaPashut B'zeh, the simplest meaning of it is, the obvious meaning is, the simple meaning is that with the redemption that will come very speedily in our days through Mashiach Tzidkenu will be in a way that Hashem will show us such wonders like the redemption that took place from Egypt. This is not understood. It's not understood. It's explained in many verses and in many statements of our sages that the redemption, that will the future redemption through Mashiach will be a complete redemption, and one in which there's no more going into exile after that. In other words, that is the ultimate redemption, whereas the Tzias Mitzrayim, the redemption from Egypt, was not like that. In other words, the redemption from Egypt will be much great. The redemption through Mashiach will be much greater than the redemption that happened, than the exodus from Egypt. To the point that there's even an opinion that says that we will not even mention the exodus from Egypt when Mashiach comes. It'll be like, nothing compared to what will be then. So why go mention all the little things, That's how insignificant it will be according to that one opinion. And even according to the opinion that says we will be mentioning the exodus from Egypt when Mashiach comes, which means, according to them, that it's not such a small thing, the redemption, compared to the ultimate redemption. Nevertheless, even according to that opinion, it's not so simple. You need to have a special teaching from the Torah verse that teaches you that you're going to be mentioning when Mashiach comes. It's not so obvious. So either way you look at it, it's not, you can't compare the redemption from Egypt to the redemption through Mashiach. So why then does the pasuk in Micha? Why then does the pasuk in Micha say that that I will show you wonders when Mashiach comes, like the wonders of Mashiach when you went out of Egypt? as if the primary example of a redemption is Yetzias Mitzrayim. And that will be like that. It doesn't seem that that's the way it really is going to be. He says even more than this, he says. The Malosh Nakasa Kimei Tseischa Meretz Mitzrayim Meren Nefleis Masha Nefleis Shoy Mid Eretz Tseischa Meretz Mitzrayim Mei Maschol Vasher Gamal Nefleis Shoy Mid Begul Yishi Begul Asida. The Mizem Moving Sheesh Mailo Bagul Yis Yisraim Magul Asida. In addition, he says, from the language of that very verse, like the days you went out of Egypt, I will show you wonders. It seems to be indicating that the wonders that were at the Exodus from Egypt, they are the beginning, they are the paradigm. And they are the source for all other redemptions. They are the source for the wonders that will be when Mashiach comes. In other words, it seems even more, not only will the redemption through Mashiach be like Mitzrayim, it looks even like the redemption of Mitzrayim is even greater in a certain regard than the redemption that will be when Mashiach comes. It seems to be in the face of everything we know from verses and from works of our sages that says that the redemption through Mashiach is going to be the thing, it's going to be it. And Yetzias Mitzrayim maybe we'll mention, maybe not. It depends on the two opinions. But according to all opinions, it's not so simple that we have to mention it. Right? So there's two questions. Number one is, why does it say Kimei, plural, when it's only one day? And why are we even comparing the coming Mashiach to Yetzias Mitzrayim? It seems like Mashiach is on a whole different level. And from this verse, it seems like Mashiach is less than Mitzrayim even, maybe. To get to the point of the explanation of this idea, in this verse, like the days, in this verse in Micha, like the days I took you out of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders when Mashiach comes. There's two meanings to this passage. Pirush, the first explanation is that the future redemption will be like the redemption of Mashiach. That then also when Mashiach comes, Hashem will show us such great wonders like He showed us when we left Egypt. That's one explanation, one meaning of this verse. The second meaning, second explanation meaning of this verse is that the wonders that will be taking place when Mashiach comes will be wonders compared to the wonders that we left out of Egypt, that we saw when we left Egypt. In other words, according to the second explanation, when you say like the days I left you, like the days that you went out of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. In other words, you think you saw wonders when you left Mitzrayim, right? Oh, here you're going to see real wonders. In other words, what's going to happen when Mashiach comes, you're going to be wondrous compared to the wonders that you saw when you left Egypt. So that's the second explanation. Vahainu, in other words, although the general wonders that we will experience when Mashiach will come will be similar to the wonders that we saw when we left Egypt, as the first explanation, the simplest meaning of this verse, nevertheless, nevertheless, there will be an advantage to the miracles and wonders that we will see when Mashiach comes. Even over that, they will be considered wondrous, even compared to the wonders that we saw when we left Egypt. To explain the advantage of the miracles that we will see when Mashiach comes over the miracles we saw when we left Egypt, in the language of Kabbalah, is like this. We know that when they left Egypt, there was a great need to schlep them out of the 49 levels of impurity into which they sunk. And you know that idea already, right? And that is why right after we left Egypt, began the 49-day count of the Omer, which gets us out of the 40 day after day out of the 49 levels. And every day of the counting of the Omer, we leave another gate of impurity, and we climb the ladder of spirituality. And this exit from the going out and being removed from the gates of impurity was through, how did we accomplish this? By drawing upon the Jewish people the 50 gates of Bina, of holiness, okay? We'll get there in a minute, we'll explain. That is why the Exodus from Egypt is mentioned in this Chumash 50 times, corresponding to the 50 gates of Kedusha, of Bina, that were revealed during that Exodus, which is what got us, gave us the ability to leave the 49 levels of impurity.
What is mentioned?
The Exodus from Egypt is mentioned 50 times in the Torah.
Really?
Yeah. It's known that in the 50 gates of purity of Bina, there are a number of levels. There are the 50 gates, Kimei Umashem Sitra the Yevla bin Nimshochem b'Malchus. Ulamayli is Anun Sharabini Kameshem b'Mkeim b'Bina. Ulamayli is Kameshem Klulum Mishar Anun b'Chinis HaKeser. B'Keser Gufa b'Chinis At. These 50 gates, or 50 levels, there are many levels to these 50 themselves. There are those 50 the way they are drawn into Malchus. Do you need that that diagram of the worlds? And you've all seen that picture, you know what I'm talking about. Malchus, to just give you just a brief background, all revelation into, in other words, all God's revelation to lower worlds happens through the enclosement of His great light via Malchus. Malchus is the conduit, so to say, through which it goes to the next world. Malchus is the lowest point of every world, and it goes through Malchus into the next world, so it reveals itself to the next world through Malchus. So there are these 50 gates, these 50 Shari Bina, as they are drawn down to our worlds through Malchus. So that's the way these 50 gates are already in a state of being drawn downward. And then there is, beyond, higher than that, is the way the 50 gates of Bina are in their natural state. We're in the level of Bina in Atzilus itself, in the highest world of Atzilus. And then higher than that even is the way these 50 gates, these 50 levels of godliness, are higher than Atzilus in the level of Kesed, the crown. And within the crown alone, in the inner aspect of the crown, which is Atik. So it goes levels after level after level till it comes in. Now we can begin to understand why the revelations, when Mashiach will come, will be even wondrous compared to the revelations as they were when we left Egypt. Why? In other words, the Rabbi is saying over here, based on Kabbalah, that you're right. The revelations of Mashiach and Yetzias Mitzrayim are pretty much the same revelation, the 50 gates of Bina. The 50 gates of purity, that's what schlepped us out of the 49 gates, and this was going to do it, and that's going to happen when Mashiach comes as well. But the difference is, when they left Egypt, it was those 50 levels as they were already drawn down into Malchus. So not in their pristine highest state. But when Mashiach will come, we will get a glimpse. We will not only a glimpse, we will be a full revelation of those 50 gates, not as they are in Malchus lowered, but as they are in Kesed, in the crown, that highest level of godliness. The same 50 gates, but on a much higher level. In a wondrous level compared to what the Malchus. But Kesed, compared to Malchus, is a wonder. It's like, it's two different, it's infinitely greater. It's like, I'll give you an example. It's like saying, just to get an idea, yeah? When Mashiach comes, you're going to learn the same subject that you learned when you were in first grade. Could you imagine someone tell you something like that? That's what we're going to learn when Mashiach comes? When we learn something we learned in first grade? Or fifth grade? You can learn what's the first Talmud you started with? Baba Metzia. Let's say a 10-year-old kid starts learning Talmud. He learns the Baba Metzia. It's a tractate in the Talmud. So someone tells you when Mashiach comes, you're going to learn the same tractate as you learned it when you were 10 years old. It's depressing. The difference is then you can learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu. Then you can learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu, from Mashiach himself. That same chapter could be it could be understood for a 10-year-old, it could be understood for a 30-year-old through a teacher like Moshe, through a teacher like Mashiach. So it's wondrous compared. It's the same blot, it's the same subject, but it's on the whole, it's a different thing. It's the same 50 gate, but this is Kesser, this is Malchus. So the verse already starting to make sense. Yes, it's like when left Mashiach, the 50 gate. But now we're talking about Kesser. You're talking about the Pnimis, the inner dimension of Kesser, which is infinitely greater than those same 50 gates as they are drawn into the lower worlds, which we can have a relationship with in this present time, or when they left Egypt at least. Okay. Look, as it says regarding Mashiach, it says about the great wisdom and grasp, intellectual grasp of Mashiach, that he will be elevated ma'id, very, very much. And it says in Kabbalah that ma'id, this word ma'id, very, that says regarding Mashiach, it refers to the inner dimension of Atik, which is the highest level of Kesser. Allah Al-Shaf became Medama Cousin Fleishy, Begulasidul and Fleishy, which is Misraim, Kapirisha Pasha, Begosha, Gulu, CDR, and the Fleis, which says, Beit says, Humeris Misraim, Gigam Bitzis Misraim, Yulim Machinailu. He says like this. In a very famous Kabbalistic book called Priyetz Chaim, which is from a student of the Arizal, it's not from the Arizal himself. It says over there that all the godly revelations that are in the world till Mashiach comes are from the outer dimension of Kesser. I'll explain to you in a minute what's the difference between the inner dimension of Kesser and the outer dimension of Kesser. Whereas the revelations of godliness that will be present when Mashiach comes are from the inner dimension of Kesser. What is the difference between the outer dimension of Kesser and the inner dimension of Kesser? So that you understand the importance of this level called Kesser. Kesser is known throughout Kabbalah and Hasidus as the midpoint not the midpoint, but the bridge between Creator and creation. That's where they not split, but that's the meeting point. Everything till the inner dimension of Kesser, including the inner dimension of Kesser, is called Maitzil, the emanator, and the outer dimension of Kesser, the second half of Kesser, is already called Ne'etzol, the emanation. So when you say everything till Mashiach comes is a revelation from the Pnimius, from the inner dimension of Kesser, the outer dimension of Kesser, the lower level of Kesser, you're not talking about the Creator anymore. You're talking about the highest level of creations. Spiritual creations, granted. Tzilis, even the lower level of Kesser. This is great. It's God. It's an extension of God. It's a shine of, but it's not the essence of Hashem. When you say when Mashiach comes will be a revelation of the Pnimius HaKesser, the inner dimension of Kesser, now you're talking about God revealing Himself, not via His creations. So it's a whole different thing. It's not a little inside, outside of Kesser. It's two worlds. That's the meeting point. That's that level of Kesser you have to understand. So Pnimius HaKesser is the lowest level of the emanator, and the Chetzein is the outer dimension. The lower level of Kesser is the highest level of the emanation. It's no longer emanator, it's the emanations already. Highest level, granted. And when you have a revelation of that level, you leave Egypt. You leave the 49 gates of purity. It's great. No question about that. Halavai, we had such a revelation every day. Trust me, it's a revelation that we wouldn't be able to handle every day. It's phenomenal. It's miraculous. It's the highest, very high level. But it's not the nets. It's not the maitzel. It's not the emanator. It's already God as He's lowered Himself and expressed Himself in something other. So that you understand what we're talking about. So that's the difference between Mitzrayim and all of these till Mashiach comes and post and the coming of Mashiach. But nevertheless, he says, the Pesach in Micha compares the revelation when Mashiach will come, the great godliness that we will experience when Mashiach comes, to the godliness we experienced when we left Egypt. Why? Like the simple meaning of that verse that we learned, there's two explanations. The simple explanation is that they're comparing. What's the comparison? Because when we left Egypt, there was also great revelations. There was no, it wasn't chopped liver. It was real high level revelation, the 50 gates of Bina. But as they were already expressed, lowered into the world of emanations, not in the world of the emanator. So it's the same kind of revelation. It's like the same Blat Gemara, but you're learning it from it's two worlds. Just as an example. Like it's explained in the great series of discourses that were published by the Rebbe Rashab 100 years ago today, in 1912. The Rebbe Rashab sat down to write a four-year continuous, week after week, one long continuation of discourses. It went on for 4 years. It says that in those 4 years, the Rebbe Rashab revealed the deepest, the highest level of Hasidic teachings, and that ever till then and from then, or at least till then. It's known as the Hemshech Tov Reish Ayin Beis, a series of discourses of 1912. So there he explains, I have it over here, it's 3 books, it's, every great Hasidic mass scholar learns that, you can't get away without that. So there he explains the meaning of the Haggadah statement. It says that why do we eat this matzah? Because when we left Egypt, the dough didn't have time to leaven, not shenigla aleim, until the King of Kings had revealed himself with his own glory and himself. He himself revealed himself and took them out of Egypt. Right? You remember that statement in the Haggadah? You do?
No.
Yeah.
He himself, not an angel.
No, that's a different part. That's a different section. It's, at some point we say, this is matzah that we eat. Why do we eat it? Because when we left Egypt, there was no time to read the leather, dough to leaven. It happened so quick that there was no time to leaven. What happened so quick? That God, the King of Kings, revealed himself, he himself. So it says in Chassidus, in that discourse, when you say his own glory and himself, God himself, you're right, it says it in another section also, me and not an angel, me and not a sorov, me and not a mal, yeah. It says in Ayin Beis that these are the highest levels of godliness. He himself and in his glory. But when they left Egypt, it was those levels as they were cloaked, so to say, in the level of Malchus. So it's already covered by Malchus, by a lower level. It was the same God, the same level, but cloaked. We didn't have the revelation of the Chvede V'atzmei. It went through Malchus. The Pesach, who begins Malchus. It says that God passed over the doors, right? He jumped over the doors. What's the door? So the door is the door in Egypt, But the door over here also means Malchus, because the Malchus is the doorway to the lower levels. So the Pesach was through the door of Malchus. But when Mashiach comes, he is a begili, belishum levush. It will be a revelation without any cloaking. As it says in the Pesach, I think in Yeshaya. Yeah. Yeshaya 30:20. That over there will no longer be there will be a revelation without any cloaking of your master, of Hashem. Nevertheless, according to this, we still have to understand. With this, in light of what we just said, then why Taka does the Pasuk compare? Why is there a comparison? You're right, there's a comparison because we're saying, imagine if someone said you're going to learn, you can learn when Mashiach comes the same blot that you learned when you were 10 years old. So you have a rabbi that explains to you, but it's going to be on a greater level. The comparison makes no sense. What? The comparison is weird. Okay, so you have to give me an explanation that, it's not when you're 10, it's the same words, but a whole different meaning. Don't give me no comparisons to when I'm 10 years old. What are you comparing with? Why are you doing that even? And that's the question he's asking. If it's that level, you talk about the highest level of the 50 gear, what do you give me a story that's going to be like Mitzrayim? It's two worlds. But even more is not understood. We mentioned before that there's an opinion that when Mashiach comes, we will be mentioning the Exodus from Egypt as some great thing. According to what we just learned, it is child's play. Why would we even be talking about it? It's like when you say, when Mashiach comes, you're going to get $20 million into your bank account, and we're going to make mention of the fact that you got your allowance when you were 6 years old. You got a quarter. We're going to remember that quarter.
Because if it wasn't for that miracles, we wouldn't be at that point.
Okay, okay, I hear you. But the question is a question. Maybe you're right. We'll get there. But what's this? What are you even mentioning? The old miracles that are mamish garnished, that are nothing compared to what we're experiencing then. You understand what I'm saying? So why would we even mention Mitzias Mitzrayim then? If you do, Abir V'zed's known the explanation, like the previous Rabbi explains in his discourse on this verse. The Begul is Mitzrayim Nischadish, Klolus, in Nagul, and Niftach, Hatzin, Rakol Agulus, Magol, Yishlach, Regolus, Mitzrayim, Gam Al Gula Asida, Agam Shtigul, and Al Shesed. He explains that Mitzias Mitzrayim wasn't only a redemption, the exodus from Egypt wasn't only a redemption from Egypt. What happened that pivotal night was that then the whole idea of redemption was brought down to the world. It opened up the channel of all redemptions. The concept of redemption came into the world. True, not as great as the redemption of Mashiach, but the whole concept of redemption was revealed. Till then, Jews were avodim, was enslaved. The idea that Jews can no longer be as enslaved, and they are the people of God and the redemption forever, that started by Mitzrayim. Including also that became the source and the pipe that opened up the channels for all redemption, including the future redemption. So you're right, what you just said. As it's known that the exodus from Egypt was the preparation that gave the ability for the giving of the Torah at Sinai. As it says, God said to Moshe, when you will take them out of this nation, out of Mitzrayim, you will go then and serve God on this mountain. One happened as a result of the other. Even though the main redemptive quality happened at Matan Torah, before they got the Torah, they were still not completely redeemed. Why? And he explains. Kimei it's known that what happened at Matan Torah, the great quality and chidush, novelty that took place at Sinai, it wasn't that God gave us a Torah. We knew the Torah before Matan Torah. We were already fulfilling it before. It says Avraham, Yitzchak, they all did it before. So what was the great thing that happened to Matan Torah? That God imparted knowledge to us? We had that knowledge. It says in the Medrash that then something extraordinary happened. Up until that point, since creation, until that point, which is 2,448 years, Torah was given 2,448 years from creation. Those 2,500 years, God had implanted in creation a schism between heaven and earth, between the spiritual realm and the physical material realm. And they could not merge. He made a decree that these two realms will never meet. So for example, I always give this example because it says in Chassidus this example. When Avraham Avinu says he put on tefillin, he did all the mitzvahs, including putting on tefillin. When he finished his tefillin, he threw it in the garbage. There's nothing holy about that. The physical things with which he did the mitzvahs attained no holiness. Because there was no ability for the physical to absorb holiness. Heaven and earth were two worlds, two realms. So his soul experienced a spiritual experience. Yeah, but the physical matter, you finish into the garbage. There's no need for it. Would you ever throw your tefillin in the garbage? It falls on the floor, you kiss it, you go crazy. You fast. Some people fast when the tefillin falls on the floor. Tefillin itself, not the bag, but the tefillin itself. We go crazy when a Torah scroll is a piece of parchment, but we see it as the holiest object in the world. Because it is. It absorbed godliness. That physical and spiritual began to merge. When was that given? That possibility given? At Sinai. Then the separation was removed. That's what it says in this Medrash. That God removed the separation between heaven and earth and gave an ability for Jews and people to merge heaven and earth, to create a world for God, a holy place for God, to make the world holy. That's something that couldn't be done before. In other words, till Matan Torah, the world was exiled. There was no redemptive quality to the world. You couldn't do anything with this physical world. You can never make it a holy. You couldn't do anything with it. It was separated from God inherently. Matan Torah gave the world a redemptive quality. That you can redeem the physical world, make it holy. So when did the world experience the first redemption? Not so much the night they left Egypt, but the day they stood at Mount Sinai. That's when the world experienced a redemption. You can now make it holy and godly. For Afo Pikein, nevertheless, nevertheless, when was this ability that was going to happen at Sinai? When was that ability begin? The night of Pesach. When God revealed himself. And that great moment, when they schlepped the Jews out of Egypt, that opened up the channel for Matan Torah as well. And that's why there's such a connection between Pesach and Shavuos. Do you know that Shavuos has no date in the Jewish calendar? In the Torah, there's no date for Shavuos.
50 days.
It's 50 days from Pesach. Every other Yom Tov has a date, the 15th of the 7th month, the 1st of the 7th month, the 15th of the 1st month. Every day, every Yom Tov has a date. Shavuos is 50 days from Pesach. The one is connected. You go out of Egypt, you start the 49 days, and then you have the 50th. There's a deep connection between Tzeis Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. So the same thing regarding the future redemption. That the redemption that took place by the Exodus from Egypt, that redemption gave the ability and the potential also for the final redemption. Because that Matan Torah, it says, was a revelation. God revealed himself to the world similar to the revelation that will take place when Mashiach comes. Why Matan Torah was only a temporary, momentary thing. That great moment, but it passed. But when Mashiach will come, that revelation will be eternal. It will be always. Imagine it will have Matan Torah all the time. What will be the difference? Why then it was only momentary and then it will be forever? Because when God gave the Torah, the world didn't earn it. The world didn't prepare itself for it as much as it should have. So maybe it was superimposed. So when the world is not, it's not coming from within, it's coming from without. So as long as the without, the world is not propitious. God gave one good jolt of spiritual revelation and said, now you guys prepare yourselves so that you can absorb this. So it becomes your own. That's what these 3,000 years are. But when Mashiach comes, it will be already after we will have transformed the whole world to be a vessel and then able to receive such revelation. It will come from within. Because all of creation will then be completely purified and transformed. Because there will be proper vessels to be able to contain such revelation. The world wasn't able to contain it then. So the Jews died. Their souls flew out of their bodies. They couldn't handle it. And they'll be able to absorb this knowledge and this great revelation. Because then this world will become a complete, ultimate vessel for God. And he's going to continue, which we'll stop over here. And that is why it says in many places that when Mashiach will come, the revelation will be even higher than it was on Matan Torah. But over here he's going with the point that is the same, but it'll be where the world is now reached a point where it is now, it comes from within. Now it's your revelation. It's no longer superimposed. He's going to continue saying, now we understand why it says Kimei, plural. Because the redemption from Egypt is not only a one-day thing. It started that night in Egypt, but it continues till Mashiach comes. Because that opened the channel. So it's one long stretch of redemptive quality that we are moving towards to reach its the ultimate redemption. It started that night. It will finish when Mashiach comes. It's not two separate redemptions. It's one long redemption. But it's with stages, with a process, and so on and so forth, which will continue next week.